Good day and welcome back. So, again, it's been a bit since my last part of this series, and again, I apologize. I am still recovering from COVID. It's been making life a little bit difficult. Mostly, it's been the exhaustion and brain fog. So, again, I apologize. Hopefully, I'll be getting back into a cadence here as we go forward. This video is about putting the cabin and assembling the majority of what's left there for the truck piece. It's I basically take it up to the point where we're going to go ahead and get started working on the missiles. And again, I'm pretty much calling out the challenges I have, right? This kit is a little bit of a struggle here and there. Between the ejector pin marks and between the instructions and some of the really fiddly detail pieces, it's something to work on. So without further waffling, I'll just go ahead and cut to the rest of this video. So here we go. All right, so to put all this together, I had to assemble all the cabin pieces, and it's not just detailing interior, but you also have to put all of the cabins together like building a box. You know, your bottom, top, sides, and you really have to work on getting the orientation right. It's a bit of a challenge, but you really have to keep at it. Ejector pin marks are sort of the bane of this, and we have them here. And then you've also got some really crappy ones, like right here for the battery compartment. That's just going to mess everything up. You really have to pay attention. Again, this whole model is filled with those kinds of things. Then you have to go ahead and put build the batteries. I went ahead and painted them, according to the painting scheme, but we're not even going to see them. Like they'll go into this box right here, get them set in, but then I realize later it really isn't going to be seen. But as you can see, you've got to kind of go through and step by step and put all the walls together, get everything in. You have a lot of detail there, and then you can see how all of these pieces get detailed up. Take your time. If you take your time, you can get it done. It's really finicky with how they all go together and go in. It's not. It's like right here, these pieces right here, the connection points are kind of fiddly, and pretty much the whole thing is that way. Again, here's putting against the door. You can see the ejector pin marks, the ejector pin flash that you have to clean up to make the doors work. You can actually pose the doors open, which is what I'm kind of intending to do. And because I've got the interior, I like to actually be able to see it. I did go through the effort of, weathering and dirtying up the seats and so forth so that they can actually look worn. So I kind of might as well make the doors open so I can see those things. This is for the front, for the driver piece. The other one, you can see this is the back cabin. And again, this is the only one that really didn't fit well. It's the one where I had the most struggle. Ended up having to really do some fiddling. And then, getting some of the front cover pieces. And you can see these really tiny PE pieces. Okay, so just getting started. And a couple things to point out already. So this goes onto there, then onto there, onto there, onto here. Now, all of this is black. That's what they're calling out. So I start looking at the painting for it, and that's this guy. And that goes on to this part here, but it goes on kind of like that, and then that's going to face onto the front of this, so you're going to see all of that. Yeah, I guess it's worth it to go ahead and hit it a shot and give it its base coat, and that needs to be done. But the other thing I did want to point out though is this. So this photo etch onto this piece, and so the nice thing is they are the holes here are separate, right? Or separate, but oddly distant, not equidistant, or whatever word you want to use, so that they line up, but they don't. So these two line up. These two ones that are closer line up, and that one doesn't. And I started fiddling with it, And if I get this one to fit, then those are off. If I get those two to fit, then that one's off. So I'm trimming that off. Then I'll put that together. So that's just something to call out, and that's, you know, there. And then we've got these two pieces, W22 and 23, that'll then go on the front of that. So that'll be something to do. We'll get to that, and instead of just calling those out. Okay, so after stepping through all of these, we go put the battery compartment onto the chassis, and it goes on fairly well. The pins on the bottom of this line up with that. This lines up with this fairly well. But here's something that I find out is because of the way we orient this thing to begin with, it wasn't oriented correctly or well when I put it together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this set, let all that glue set, then I'll come back here with some CA and fix that in place. Actually, what I can probably do is just fix that in place now that I've broken that off. So I can just go ahead and go back and do that. But you can see how there it's twisted there. I don't have that properly oriented, and this has a bit of a twist to it. So I'm going to have to fiddle with that just a bit to get that squared away. But that is an issue that needs to be resolved. So I'm going to resolve that issue. And we'll move on. Alright, this should be entertaining. So this is these pieces. So essentially you're folding this cage. Basically you're making this little cage to go over top of the spotlight. But to do that, you need to take this bit of photo etch and bend it. Now they give you a jig. I need to clean that up just a little. They give you a jig to fold that over. And I'm not entirely sure. Let's see if I can get that there. So they give you this jig here. I'm not entirely sure what's the best way to do it. I'm kind of thinking what I want to do is put that in, then fold it and then mush it. Because it kind of looks like that's what they're doing. So you're to use this. Yeah, so you're to use this to then mush that over. So let's try this. Let's see if I can do that. All right, so there was some background noise that just made this ridiculous, and I ended up having to I'm going to have to overdub this. So essentially throughout this is I'm trying to figure out how to use this jig. And eventually what I'm going to do is pretty much what you're seeing here. I'm just using the base piece and bending it down with my fingers to start with, and using it to form it. And there's those little grooves for those pieces to go into, and that will help line that up and get that in. Now if I use this top piece, you know, that'll kind of help force it, which is, you know, nice, I guess. But that's about as far as it gets it, and I really don't see the point in those extra two jigs, or, you know, at least the outside part of the jigs, because right now with what you have here, with the ability to bend those down to this point, I think the impression is you're supposed to be able to take this and then stick it down in there, which will then form the bottom piece of those and get them to sort of bend inward, right, toward the inside, which is kind of what it's supposed to be. So you know, it's supposed to be like this sort of bubble. I mean, you can kind of see the shape from the jig as far as what it's supposed to be. And well, you know, metal just doesn't form just by putting it in place. You have to overbend it and then it'll come back. But so I kind of fiddle with this for a bit, and yeah, eventually I just I'm like, you know what, the heck with it. So I'm going to pull that out right around this point. Just take that out and then just use the forceps, right? Because it's got to fit to there, right? It's got to fit onto that piece. So I just need to bend those in just a little bit. So if I take the forceps and just bend them in just a touch. It'll be all I really need to do here, right? And that'll get it to where I need it to go. Just give it a little bit of a nudge. It gets me the shape I need. And then I'll walk around this and just make the thing do what it's got to do. I really, I'm finding out with this kit, I needed to get a PE tool. I don't have one, but I could use it. Now that I have this shaped, I'm going to go get my helping hands because it's going to hold this main piece where I want it. Or not this main piece, I'm sorry, but the base. So I need to have it sitting and not moving so I can super glue the top part on. And so we'll just kind of get that where it needs to be. Then we'll get super glue. I'm going to super glue, and there's like little holes. You can kind of see them there, little holes around the corner, or little holes around that edge. And we just put the like a dab of super glue, and then I'm also going to use kicker. That's what's in that little white cup. And so you just put a dab of super glue at all the places where that's supposed to go. Then I take the thing and I dip it into the kicker, and then just place it, and that works. So then I go back and put these pieces, goodness really, go ahead and put the PE for this grill on, and then again, same thing, just put a little bit of super glue and go forth, and that's what gets you from where you need to go. So, I mean, y'all can figure that out. Apologize for noise in the background. My family's watching TV upstairs, so you'll probably hear some little bits and pieces in there, so I apologize. Again, complexity for complexity's sake, or just things to watch out for. So when putting together things like this, where you have a piece and then you put all the four sides on and then match things up, right? You know, there's like a bunch of these through all this. I'll be fair, this step where you have these two, this is pretty cool because these actually can't mess up. And I actually tried. I made a mistake and I cut K24 when I meant to cut K23, and I went to put that on, didn't quite fit, which was nice. So that engineering is really good. But still, these are really a pain in the neck when it comes to doing this. Like this one right here, you put these two together, then you put these two on, and you put that in, and that's this bad boy right here. And it's challenging to get that all to fit in right, just because it's, you know, the tolerances aren't tight enough to make that click in. I'll be honest. So here's something. I did a Space 1999 Eagle, which, you know, yes, I know, sci-fi model, but a 22-inch model, where you had an octagon, you know, sort of pod, the side pods, and the way they went together, the tolerances are so fine, and the engineering is so fine. And this is odd for a space model, you know, a sci-fi model, but they went together so well the seams didn't show, right? But with things like this, there's work here, right? So I'm actually surprised that Meng, with all of this complexity, there's some challenges getting these pieces to match up, and that's the kind of thing that I found interesting with the Space 1999 model. The 22-inch Eagle, the side pods, the landing gear pods went together so well that you literally could not see the seams because you put them together. It just they fit very well. These guys are more rough. You've really got to fiddle and finagle to get these things in, and you can still see here there's still some seam work here, so I need to do a little bit more work to get that in right. So you know, I find that curious that you have that kind of tolerance where that is an issue, yet you're still dealing with fine detail for PE that, you know, I don't get it. So, you know, it's like this piece here. This is a piece of photo etch. This guy right here. that's going to go between this piece and that piece, here and here. I'm really wondering why, but I mean, I'll do it because it looks like it's this guy. Then there's that piece that just sort of is, it's almost like it's a radiator or something, and then that drops on. You know, this will drop in over top here, and it'll need to be painted. So you'll see this other piece, but I'm wondering, really, is it really that necessary? I know a bunch of my videos have said, you know, why, but it's just one more thing. So I'll move on and get to that. But, you know, like putting together this piece, and this is something I think I may have mentioned. If I haven't, I'm doing it now. Putting this piece all together, this is a really nice piece. Number one, I've discovered, buy a bending tool. I don't have a bending tool. I tried to do this without a bending tool. I've tried to use tools, and I failed miserably. And yes, I followed techniques. Yes, I tried to anneal. Yes, I tried to make it soft, but I failed. And like these things are so, the pieces to bend are so fine that it just, I failed. I just failed. And I ended up choosing to not use those parts. My problem, not the model. Buy a bending tool. If you're going to do this one, if you're going to do this kit, buy a bending tool, or have a bending tool, or a method that will work like a bending tool to do, you know, folding these pieces up. Those are 1 millimeter, right? The overall width. Do I have the piece here? I thought I had the piece. Yeah, here's a piece. Here's what I tried. Here is it. Here it is. And come on, focus. I mean, that is 1 mil, and that's the piece that you're supposed to bend. You know, it's like 3 mil. So it's a 1 mil piece, less than a 1 mil piece, and it's supposed to bend up. And I tried, and I totally failed. Now, if I had a tool, I could slid that in and probably folded it up and made it no issue, no worries, no deal. But I failed, and that's okay because this is my model. I'm okay with that. But I'm calling it out here for y'all who are watching that if you're going to do this, it's going to be very difficult to do that without a tool. Anything else here? Like I said, these are just, you know, putting together boxes for putting together. I mean, here's another piece, right? This part has some nice detail to it. That part drops inside this box. It's down in there. You literally cannot see that detail. It's invisible. Why? It's there. So I need to paint that before I put it on. I'm here working through this piece. I just got that one done. I'm going to put that piece on. And then I'm about to flip over to this step, which is putting this piece onto here. We drop this in here. We drop this. And that will be, you know, where this one's going, and then here. And then I am very, very close to done with all the cabin, and then it's going to move on to the missile. So, I think, you know, that, you know, this is where I am so far. So I'm going to go ahead and move on. And I really have no idea where I am in the actual preparing this video for consumption here, but I'm going to move on to this part, right? Because I've just gotten done with that. I'm going to put that one together, and then we'll move on to here. All right, and then I'll be back. And that's it. Once I got it all put together. Okay, so that wasn't my best my best filming and dubbing experience, but I apologize again. Technical difficulties, and actually I lost a bunch of footage. I'm working on it. I am feeling better, so hopefully next week I will actually be able to get back into the cadence of videoing once a week, at least doing something once a week. But for now, that basically leaves us with the cabin. Again, the cabin parts, the real challenge with this one, or with this whole kit in general, is just, it's super fiddly, and the tolerances just, there's not, they aren't as tight as they could be, and they aren't as certain, right? So it is actually easy to drop in pieces that are meant to create the right angle just off a little bit. And when you do that, then the whole thing kind of just shifts. But if you're patient, if you take your time, and even looking ahead, you're gonna find yourself in a position where you might find that you missed something or didn't read it right, or it isn't exactly accurate or clear. But it's okay. Be patient. So far, I haven't run into anything that was unrecoverable. I have made mistakes, but I've been able to make things kind of work. Like I said, the biggest thing in what I said earlier is I really should have had a PE bending tool. So that will be on my list of tools to acquire, just to make it work, because there are enough parts on this one that it's necessary. So going forward, if I'm going to do PE stuff, I'm going to do it with a tool. So with that said, I will go ahead and say thank you very much for watching. I hope this is useful. Please feel free, offer up suggestions, but just be polite about it. And hey, learn from my mistakes. This is kind of a cool subject. It's entertaining and challenging to do, and I like the challenge. So don't let this dissuade you. Just see the mistakes I make, and that way hopefully it'll help others avoid making them themselves. Until next time, thanks for watching, and happy modeling.